Welcome to Bounty Hunting Across the Galaxy with Todd and Ken. This is Todd.
This is Ken.
All right. And if you don't know, today is Star Wars Podcast Day. This is a anniversary of the original Star Wars podcast that came out in 99, was it?
Yes.
99. Okay. Just want to make sure I got my date right.
Jedi Talk.
I didn't mess it up within the first 30 seconds. I'm good. So I got a short intro here, and then we'll jump into our main topic.
So let's go.
Todd and Ken, the legends rise through hyperspace with burning skies. Bounty hunting, stars align. Across the galaxy, it's time to shine.
Nice.
All right. What do you think of that?
Oh man, that was well done. Well
Special,
done.
just for Star Wars Day, Star Wars Podcast Day.
I love how you just managed to get the jump cuts to go with the drum beats. That was awesome.
Hey, it took a little work to do that, but hey, showing off my musical skills here.
Man, you're becoming the super editor.
Everything with a little luck, you know.
Luck and or skill and or bubblegum and duct tape.
Right. There's a lot of that involved.
Yeah.
So, Star Wars Podcast Day, other than being like sub-zero temperatures where I'm at, what wonderful things have you been up to today before we get into our topic here?
Well, I have been doing my best to stay warm, that's for sure. We've got some blustery, gustery winds out there that make it feel like it's -6 or so. And for whatever reason, our dog still loves going out. So I did my best to get her all situated and set up so that we can have at least an uninterrupted hour of shenanigans on this show. And how are you keeping warm with all this crazy cold weather?
Well, my wife is a crocheter, so we just snuggle under the blankets, to be honest with you.
Mittens.
Luckily or unluckily, however the case may be, I don't currently have a dog, so I don't have to worry about opening the door every 15 minutes. Because the last dog we did have was a husky, so he loved to go out in the snow, and sometimes it was incredibly hard to get him back in.
It became a game.
Right? And we got, looks like Mike's on saying happy podcast day. Hey, Mike, what's going on? Good to see you.
It's either Mike or Zoe. Hard to say.
I think this will straighten it out for you.
Thanks. I appreciate the confirmation there, buddy.
So, Star Wars Podcast Day. This is a Star Wars podcast, and we talk a lot about Mandalorians and, of course, bounty hunters. And so today we're going to be discussing what we like about Mandalorians or every other bounty hunter that's out there. What makes them such a interesting topic to talk about, and why we decided to do a whole podcast based on these individuals.
For me, I think one of the great things about bounty hunters is some of them have their own code. They're not necessarily tied to a group's set of rules, or they're kind of like lone rangers, so to speak. They do what they want, when they want, how they want, and that's kind of a fun thing to do, especially when you're playing pretend. You know, you don't necessarily want to, for me anyway, put myself in this little box where I can only wear these colors, or I can only do that sort of thing. So being a bounty hunter, and then even taking it one step further, being a Mandalorian bounty hunter, it gives you a little bit more freedom, a freedom to play and freedom to create. How about with you?
Same thing. I mean, pretty much, because like, especially the bounty hunters, like you said, there's not one specific code or rule set or guidebook that says they need to be, like stormtroopers. They don't have to be the white armor, perfect in a row military type of individual. You can be that scoundrel, or you could be a more, let's say, up forthright bounty hunter. So you could be more on the side of the legal side of the bounty hunting, where you're just bringing in, you're specifically targeting criminals or stuff like that. So like you can really gauge your own character, create your own character, and really make it your own. And I think that's what I really like. You don't have to be a good guy, you don't have to be a bad guy, you could be anywhere in between. And of course, the costuming possibilities is the part that really opens everything up for me as well. So that's incredibly exciting.
and not only do you have a little bit more freedom in what the costume looks like from a color standpoint, but when you look at Star Wars over its history, you could have a costume that's, a Mandalorian costume where it looks like it's bones and horns because they're the Crusaders. So these are the ancient Mandalorians. Or you can fast forward to current times and you could have them look like Din Djarin and the other post-Imperial Mandalorians, So there is so much breadth and depth that's possible when it comes to the creation either of the story of your character or like you were saying, the costume, the colors of what you look like.
Yeah. And I mean, they do have, like, if you go online and look, it's like, oh, this color of Mandalorian armor represents this in this house, and to be honest with you, it's really like, for being a Mandalorian, you can do whatever you want, and you can make it whatever you want. And if you say that you want to have a red Mandalorian armor, you can make yourself red Mandalorian armor. If you want to be silver, you can be silver. I mean, case in point.
Well, that's good. I am silver.
So, I mean, and to me, like, my choice to become a Mandalorian comes up twofold. So like, I chose to be a Mandalorian because the first costuming club that was local to me was the Mandalorian Mercs. So, and just to see the guys that were at the convention when I saw them, there was blue, there was green. Actually, there were two different green armored guys. You know what I mean? So just knowing that, like, when they said to me, you could do whatever you want, I was like, really? Like, I don't have to have, like, Boba Fett or Jango Fett or something like that. I could create my own individual. And that's what hooked me on as far as costuming the Mandalorians.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question that you don't necessarily have to answer publicly, but I will ask it publicly. When it comes to the building of your costume, the actual physical construction of it, do you feel as if you had all of the skills necessary when you started, or was there a lot of learning that you had to do in order to get your stuff finished?
So there were some skills that I did possess. So, like, I know how to sew, so that was easy to take and modify and recreate or create the flight suit and the vest and all that, all the soft parts. Like, I've made all that myself. Some of it I started with a base, but everything that was done on mine was altered by me. Nobody came in and helped me. I did have, obviously people help me pin stuff so that I could get it straight and stuff like that. But when it came to the armor and the leather working and stuff like that was all new skills, completely new skills. Like, I had never touched a piece of leather in any way to create the pouches, my belt pouches. But when I was done, I had 3 different varieties of belt pouches that I could use.
Okay.
What about you? What did you
So
come across?
I I was raised by sewers and makers, and so I've had the knack for making things. But to your point, the actual I wouldn't call it skill in making them. So, for instance, my vest I purchased. I don't even remember where I found the seamstress. I don't know if it was Facebook or the forums or something like that. So I had her make my vest. The flight suit is as goofy as this sounds, modified pants and shirt. That's all it is. Um, I have it's a Dickies pair of black Dickie pants that
Okay.
I closed the front pockets, and I modified the shirt by taking the collar off and doing some small things. The armor parts, those I got some help with. So I'd go to
Right.
armor parties and I would see what other people were doing and get some guidance from them. I attempted to learn through YouTube videos and forum posts, but I don't know if those things stuck as well as going to the armor parties and doing the hands-on stuff. I
Yeah.
think once I saw somebody do it and they watched me do it and made suggestions and modifications, then my skills took off. But when I first started doing it, I was very much a rookie. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. The hard parts, the armor parts for me was definitely a learning curve. I had never worked with sinter before. I've never tried to heat up PVC. I tried to bend it, tried to that kind of stuff. Shaping and reshaping the armor pieces a couple times was difficult. Luckily, the painting was not. Being a miniature painter, I had painting skills, but of course, not the ones for such a big item.
Yeah, going
It's
from table stuff to full life size stuff is slightly different.
yeah, it's believe it or not, it's a different skill set. So it does take a little bit of difference, but it it was definitely a learning curve with that. And like I said, luckily for me, all the soft parts were easy. Like you said, yours were Dickies. I actually used hospital scrubs.
Okay.
So mine are dark gray hospital scrubs. And then I actually took a long sleeve shirt and a short sleeve shirt and kind of put them together to get the double sleeve for
Okay.
the
So
for
like
the
layered
flight vest.
effect.
Yep, for that layered effect.
Okay.
So again, lucky for me, I had the sewing skill set to do what I needed to do. But the armor plates, the everything else, and then my vest I made myself. That was completely from scratch.
Wow. Okay.
They told me they told me at the armor party, like if you want to size it up, take one of your t-shirts that's a nice fitting one, um, take it apart and use that as a template for the vest, and that's exactly what I did. I took a shirt apart, I cut my armor that size, and then cut it down, and then cut it down until it was about the right size. So
Okay.
yeah, but I mean, I had never done anything like that before either, so that was kind of a learning curve in itself. I mean, I could run the sewing machine, but I didn't really. I never really made clothes before from scratch, so it was an interesting journey.
And one of the things I've learned since I started this, and I started my first Mando kit over a decade ago at this point, and I've only been an approved member for I'm now in my 5th year, I believe. I
Okay.
was formally approved in 2020. Um, but it seemed like I always had an adjacent tool, but not the right tool. You know,
Okay.
so whether you're talking about, oh, you need a sewing machine, I had a needle and thread. You
Yeah.
need you need this kind of a heat gun. Well, I had this one. So all along the way, not only have I acquired new practices or new skills, but I've also picked up new and better tools to help get the job done. And since I started to now, you could probably talk to this a little bit as well. With the advent of 3D printing, it's helped it a little bit. Not saying that it has made costuming easy, but I think it makes costuming easier because now there's more access to some of these materials, to these tools, to these ways of making things where you don't have to rely on the um, try it out in your basement, hope it works, and go to an arbor party, and then they tell you no. You can go to some
Yeah.
of these people who've been doing it for a while and get guidance that way.
See, I ended up like I started mine in 2019. I started my kit, and boy, if I could go back, I would have told myself to wait about a year, because 3D printing took off in 2020 when we were all stuck with the pandemic, and the level of I could bend these parts into place to I could just get the chest plate 3D printed was like night and day in that time period. So, yeah, 3D printing definitely helps. I've 3D printed a couple Greeblies and stuff like that for my kit, but nothing. My gauntlets are 3D printed,
Okay.
but I bought those. I didn't make those, but that was one of the first things that I got was the gauntlets. So, I didn't have a whole lot of 3D printed help, just because when I started it wasn't as big as it is now. So, but I would the accessibility of 3D printing into costume making today is way ahead from where it was when I started.
Yeah. And the
So,
other thing is, goofy as it sounds, at least for me, even the quality of videos and tutorials that are available are, I mean, when I first started doing this, it was literally someone's narrative of a couple pictures. So
yeah,
here's a picture, and here are the 15 steps, and here's the finishing thing. Like, wait a minute, there's a whole lot in those 15 steps that I have no idea what you're talking about, because I don't see what you're talking about. But now with you know the quality of cameras on phones, and just people willing to record themselves doing the thing and sharing it either on YouTube or Instagram, or even on the Mando Mercs forum has definitely improved as well.
incredibly. Again, I think like being locked in for the pandemic changed a lot of things with that as well. I mean, obviously, podcasters, there's far more podcasts out there than there was prior to that, and like you said, the video quality has skyrocketed. The accessibility to better filters, better pictures, the better cameras on the phones, or the number of webcams that are out there that do the things that we'd like them to do. The quality for those has gotten so much better, and it's so much easier to follow videos to create your costumes. So,
Yes, I
yeah,
feel in some ways, I wish I had waited to get my costume together. I think I may have been able to get it done faster. At the
yeah,
same time, it's almost like a um, like a board game. I'm leveling up my character. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
my first costume get me to this level, and now I'm going to use those skills to take my next costume and go even further with it.
right. It's almost like you're playing Fallout and you have to do your individual skills. You
Yeah,
just
pretty much.
upgraded your sewing skill, upgraded your plastic bending skills.
Yeah. So now I can make gun pouches or a holster, whereas before I could only make a wallet. Whatever.
Right. Upgraded your crafting skill.
Yeah. I think the only skill that I had at the time was what we're doing right now. Is I've always had the gift for gab. So even though I don't think I'd ever call myself a great costumer, a great prop maker, I feel, you know, as a conversationalist, as a storyteller, and doing things like this with you, and being on the Inflatable Falcon with Mike, that's where I tend to shine. Is that's the ability to conduct a conversation or an interview or something along those lines. So podcasting day is a special day for me because it allows me to focus my energy and say, hey, we're celebrating today Star Wars and podcasting. Hello, this is a glorious match, like peanut butter and jelly or something.
A match made in heaven,
Yeah.
like spaghetti and meatballs. So, okay, so you mentioned that. Let me ask you this, because I don't think I actually know. What was the first podcast that you were ever on? And what actually got you to do the podcast in the first place?
I don't know if Thank the Makers was the first podcast that I was on, and that was the show that I had put together with a gentleman named Anthony God. He and I randomly met in a Target looking at Star Wars action figures. He found out I was a Star Wars fan. I found out he was a Star Wars fan, and next thing you know, we're spending 25 minutes in a toy aisle while both of our wives are saying, "Hey, we got more things to do." But I just started talking with him about it, and I wasn't on Star Wars Geek Girl, but I'd listened to Star Wars Geek Girl. Mike had mentioned it at like an armor party. I'd listened to Star Wars and characters. So I listened to a bunch of them. I think the first one that I was on was the Thank the Makers podcast.
Okay.
And I've been on a bunch of other ones since then. So I've been on the Beskar Bucket with John Scalise. You know, the Inflatable Falcon. We've put out 180 something episodes of that.
Right.
The Pod Awakens with Jordan from Maryland. Mind the Force with Catherine. I think she's from New York City. War of the Stars, and those guys I think are from. I think they're scattered across the U.S. The three of those hosts, but I've been on a bunch of them, and I don't really know what has kept me going other than two things really. I enjoy talking about Star Wars, and I enjoy talking.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think those two things in combination, and I'll say this, and this is kind of like a preview for the episode that I'm putting together for Star Wars Podcast Day, is just talking about the lessons that I've learned along the way in podcasting. Some of those lessons are skill-based, how to edit videos, how to edit audio, the technical pieces, kind of like building a costume, learning all those different parts and getting the right equipment to do it. But then there's also the research behind the scenes that I've really stepped into and really have enjoyed doing it. Just it takes my appreciation for Star Wars and ups it 16 or 17 fold, because there's just so much. Even today, we're learning more about the original trilogy, whether it's this character in the background, who the creator was, or the base for the land speeder. You know, what actual vehicle did they use to build that land speeder on? So there's almost no end to what you can learn about it. And so for you, what really set the vehicle in motion to get you to sit behind a microphone and talk about Star Wars?
You know, it's kind of weird because I listened to a couple podcasts. Of course, I'm a Warhammer fan, as you know or may not know, because we didn't do that intro in the beginning, but that's okay. We'll get it at the end. I'm a big Warhammer fan, and I used to drive about 25 minutes to work, so I would listen to, let's put it this way, most of the Warhammer podcasts are extensively long, like 2, 3, 4 hours long.
Wow, almost like a game.
Oh yeah, it's kind of crazy, and I just kind of like put it into my mind, like, well, there's nobody that's filling this like I did a little bit of looking, and it's like, well, the typical podcast, they want, somewhere between 20 minutes to an hour, depending on your scheme. And I'm listening to these ones that are like marathons, and I'm like, I could do that. Like I could talk about Warhammer for 20 minutes. I mean, that's easy. Sometimes it's harder to get on the screen to actually do it. But I kind of kicked it around for a little while, and then, to be honest with you, I started watching the Inflatable Falcon, and I'm like, these guys can do it, and not, you guys are
Knuckleheads can do
not
it.
not that you guys are inept or or the best actors in the world, but I'm like, I know I met both of you before I watched the Inflatable Falcon, and I'm like, if these guys could just get on a camera and start talking about it, then why can't I do it? So of course, then again, I kicked it around for a little while, and finally I said something to my wife, and I'm like, well, I'm thinking about doing a podcast, and this is, just to kind of get my voice out there and see if anybody's listening. And of course, in the process, we started doing video inspections at work. And so started talking to people that weren't there all the time. So it was very easy for me to kind of like just switch that up to something that I like instead of something that I need to do. So as of 2 years ago, almost to the day, I started my first podcast, and I did probably weeks of research before I even sat down and started talking to my laptop to get it going. And of course, everything from there is history. I mean, like I started doing it every other week because I have a busy schedule and stuff like that. And now I'm doing it every week on YouTube. And of course, the same year that I started doing the Warhammer podcast, I came up with the idea of doing this one. And I really kind of threw it out there, and I was kicking around again. I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, I should really do like a Mando Mercs podcast. I don't know that there's anybody that does talk about Mando Mercs and bounty hunting and stuff like that. I know and of course, I was still kind of new into the Star Wars podcast scene. I didn't really listen to them. But I started doing my research, and I'm like, there's nobody that kind of fits in this little niche. I'm like, we could do that. And of course, we went to an armor party, and I pitched it to you, and here we are almost 2 years later.
Several episodes in the can, as they say.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a longer journey for me because I kind of tackled everything on my own, and I'm not a perfectionist, but I want everything to be right before I start. So it took me a little while to get going. But yeah, I mean, that's really it. I started with audio, and it was just like a small jump to go to YouTube. It was a little scarier to be face present on a screen, but I did a couple Twitches where I played video games and talked over them and stuff like that, but that really didn't come up with the results that I wanted, so I kind of dropped that.
Yeah, so it wasn't until last year that I made the move to video. My stuff before that, whether it's the Thank the Makers podcast or Behind the Forces of Star Wars, because the Thank the Makers morphed into the forces behind Star Wars, and that kind of led to the Rambling Star Wars Fan, my solo show. Those early things were, even though we recorded them like through Zoom where we could see each other, they were mostly audio podcasts.
Yeah.
And the Rambling Star Wars Fan started off as just audio. I'd record, mess up, or mix around with the audio stuff and then put it out there. It wasn't until last year. In fact, I think last podcast day, Star Wars Podcast Day 2025, is when I put the first one out there on video. And for me, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to the video aspects of things, is I like to have the clips. I like to have the bits, whether I'm showing an action figure on screen like the ones behind me, or I have a clip from a show or something. I like to have it included in it. And it's taken me quite a while to learn the skills necessary to splice all those pieces together in a somewhat organized fashion. I'm still learning my things. I still feel like they're like a toddler learning how to use PowerPoint. But I
Right.
know with more practice, just like with my costume, with more practice, it'll get smoother and as they say, better along the way.
I mean, I agree with that. I'm 2 years in, and I'm still learning new skill sets. And of course, the short clip that I put in the intro that I put in the beginning, I just recently made that. More recent than I'd like to admit, but so I'm still learning skills, and I'm still learning, simple stuff that probably people, other people will be like, oh, well, this is easy. Just click here, here, and here, and I'm just figuring that stuff out. I mean, the process of doing new things. I mean, sometimes it's just scary. Like, not obviously not like physically scary, like a big spider or something, but like it's scary to try to do new things, and especially like I feel like in most cases, like I run out of time to do all the things that I want to do. Um, the reason for that is I have too many hobbies, but um, I do run out of time to do the things that I want to do. And sometimes just doing that next step is harder than, doing the things that I'm familiar with. So,
Yeah, and I will wholeheartedly agree with the afraid part. Even that first show, the Thank the Makers show, I was really concerned about Star Wars podcasting because that was 2020 ish,
yeah,
and Star Wars fandom was weird then, and that it seemed to me there was this one sect or section of the fandom that was
right,
really appreciative and celebratory of all things Star Wars. It didn't matter if you were talking about the holiday special or you were talking about the Return of the Jedi. Everyone seemed to enjoy it and uh, get excited about it, even go so far as say to love it. And then there
yeah,
was this other group, it seemed, that it didn't matter what it was, that they dumped on it. They 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 threw mud at you for liking it or whatever. And I was concerned that I was going to put my stuff out into the world and make myself available to have mud thrown at me. Thankfully, I've flown so far under the radar that I don't think more than 18 people would know I exist as a Star Wars podcast. So I've been safe.
even with even with all 7 of your podcasts that you had.
Yeah, even with all those different shows, I don't think, yeah. So I think the one, if I were to be Star Wars famous, it would be from being on the Inflatable Falcon with Mike Hinton, and I have him to thank for helping me know which tools I needed and to give me suggestions on software to use, and even practicing week after week after week after week of recording together. So I have him to thank in a big way for getting me down this podcast path.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that's probably a big help. I mean, like most of the stuff that I've done by myself. So when it comes to editing, I've been figuring out the right software to use for editing. When I did, especially when I did the voice stuff, like one software stopped being compatible with the other, and then now I got to go look for something else. And I've run into the gambit of what do I do now? I can't use this for my podcast this week, even though I just recorded it, just to get it out onto, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and this was just voice at that point, just to get it out and get it to the right place. And I didn't have a lot of people. I didn't have anybody that was in the business. I'm going to use air quotes on that, in the business of doing podcasts. So I didn't really have anybody to reach out to say, what do I do now? How do I get past this? So there's a whole lot of Google searches and a whole lot of hours spent trying to wrap my head around the one simple thing that I used to be able to do with 3 clicks. You know? But luckily, and I think this comes with time and awareness, is luckily everything gets easier the more you do it.
Yeah, that's for sure. I will say that even the video editing that I was talking about, that I'm just now scratching the surface on understanding how to use it or how to do it. It's getting a little bit easier, and what used to take me 6 hours is taking me 5.5 hours now, or whatever.
Yeah. When you started podcasting, did you ever think you would be in all these different shows? Would you ever think you'd be 186 episodes into the Inflatable Falcon?
No, I didn't. I mean, I hoped it would be one of those things that I stuck with, because I really, going back to what I said earlier, I like Star Wars and I like talking about Star Wars. So I was hopeful that I would be still going at it after several years. So I'm very happy that it's happened, but I didn't anticipate it to the level that it's at now. So we've got this show together, Bounty Hunting Across the Galaxy, with Todd and Ken, and Mike and I and our guests have been on the Inflatable Falcon almost every Wednesday for a couple of years now, and I've got a handful, a dozen so, or maybe a couple dozen of single shows of the Rambling Star Wars Fan. But I don't think I would have ever imagined that it would be to the numbers that it's at, and I'm so excited because I just know there's even more ahead of me. I'm not hanging up the microphone, even though there were moments of frustration and annoyance, and a lot of it was just aimed at myself. Like I can't get this thing done. It's not coming together the way that I want it to. But then I just figured out something else, or a different approach, or what have you. But yeah, I wouldn't have imagined that I would be doing it for as much as I have, even to the point where, I recently applied for a couple panels at Fan Expo, and Mike and I had done a couple panels at Fan Expo together, but I don't think I would have felt as confident because I'm going to do it. No hesitation. I'm just going to go online, fill out the application, and send it away before it would be, should I do it? Maybe I shouldn't. What am I going to talk? Here we go. I'm just going to put these out into the universe and see what happens. And you're involved in what, 6 different shows?
No, just 3. So
okay.
Just 3. I'm hoping to catch up with you someday, but
well, you're practically a co-pilot. You're a faceless co-pilot on the Inflatable Falcon.
Yeah, I am there pretty much every Wednesday as well. Even though I don't show my face, I'm always in the comments. I do, again, like I started with table ready painting, and really we're only like a week apart from when we started Lake Clan Legends. So Lake Clan Legends was a situation where both my boys were getting a little antsy, and they weren't using time to what they could be doing. So it was actually just a project just to kind of help them work together. And I don't want to say a punishment, but I mean, it was like all right, why don't we do this so we can get this going? And then you guys have something to work on together so that you can stop bickering with each other and stop fighting and stop picking and stuff like that. I mean, again, if you know my boys, they are great boys. They fight like brothers. They are a year apart. They're virtually almost both 6 foot tall. So them fussing with each other all the time is, of course, a little stressful, because if it ever, not that I think either of them would ever actually fight with each other, but the fact that the two of them would probably take the house down.
It'd be a rumble to remember.
Yeah, so it was really a project to kind of get them to work together, and it worked. So we play D&D every Sunday, and we've missed some. So we're not as consistent as I'd like to be. But for a 14 and a 15-year-old that are essentially running the show, they're a lot more reliable than I would expect for most 14 and 15-year-old kids.
Nice.
So, and I am, though I pretend to be the host of it, I am on their schedule. I don't push them. I don't, make them better. I don't come up with ideas. I mean, I help with idea suggestions, but it's all up to them. I just let them do their thing. So,
Nice.
Yeah. So you actually, in what you said, you actually kind of answered the next question that I was going to ask for you. But have you ever considered stopping doing this? And if you ran into somebody that told you that they were going to stop, would there be any advice that you would give them?
So to answer the first part, have I thought about it? Yeah, actually, many times, and yes, many times have I thought about stopping, for a variety of reasons. Um, some of times it was the tools. I didn't feel like I had the right tools to do a high quality show. Me thinking that the show has to be at this level, and I'm
Yeah.
at this level. It's just not good enough.
Right.
And, I used to compare my show to other shows that I saw online, and then I would find out that the show that I was watching online, they had a writer and they had an editor and they had someone who did the video. And so even though it was just one person in front of the camera or one person on the microphone, they had this big team behind them.
Yeah.
And when I looked at my show, I was like, it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heather encourages me, Heather supports me, but she's not running the board, she's not doing the video edits. So when I learned that they had all this behind them, all this
Right.
help and assistance, and it kind of made it easier for me. It took a little bit of the weight off, a little bit of the pressure off for me to be at this level, knowing what they have, and to use to get to that level. So me at this level, that's fine. I became more okay with it. And then, as odd as this is going to sound, a couple people, when I had gaps in between my show, longer gaps in between my show, I would get a random note from a friend who say, "Hey, I haven't heard an episode. What's going on?" I didn't even realize that there were folks that were actually listening to the show, that were paying attention to the show. Um, and then when those kind of things happen, like, oh yeah, so there are folks listening. I'm not just talking into the empty void.
Yeah.
And then to answer that second question, if someone were to tell me that they were thinking about stopping the show, I'd say, what are some of the reasons behind it? What are some of the things that make you say no? And on the other end of that, what are some of the reasons to say yes? And are there things that we can put in place that support the yes while overcoming the no's? Because I think this is one of those things you don't have to be great at it. You don't have to
Yeah.
have, you know 2 million views, and you don't have to have the platinum plaque with the play button and all those kind of things to put something out there into the universe. And it can be just fun if it's just you and the microphone, or you and two people that listen to it, or whatever. And one of the things that surprised me, is that as a podcaster, I've been able to do things I didn't think I would. So even something as seemingly small as hosting a panel at Fan Expo, it's not New York Comic Con, it's not San Diego Comic Con, it's a comic book convention in Philadelphia. Hosting a panel there and having 30 or 40 or 50 people in the room who weren't just there because they wanted a place to sit. They were there.
Right.
They were involved in the conversation. They were mentioning our episodes that they had listened to before. That kind of added a little fuel to the fire for me to keep going. How about you? Have you thought of since you started doing these things of just hanging up the microphone cord and saying I'm going to put my effort just into painting?
Let me tell you, there's times even more recent than I'd like to admit that I've been like, this, it does take a lot of time and it does take a lot of effort, and even though I enjoy the process, and of course I at this point, getting up on front of the camera is like nothing anymore. I don't even care anymore. It's like, okay, I'm just going to talk to my computer for a little while, and if people talk back to me, then I have fun with it, and if they don't, then I'm just going to say my piece and be done with it. But still, I mean, just there is times where I'm like, okay, it's coming to be Thursday night and I don't have a subject, or I don't have something that I had planned out, and it's like, I don't get time to paint miniatures because I'm doing this, or I don't get time to do this because I'm doing this, and it's like the struggle of the time, which is, I know it's more of an internal kind of thing for me, but it does get to me from time to time, and yeah, there's plenty of times, and I'm like, there's nobody listening anyways. Why should I bother? But like you said, it's like I get the same thing. It's like I don't do an episode, and then suddenly somebody reaches out and it's like, "Hey, weren't you on Thursday night?" Or actually, I did a live last week that there was no sound, and I ended the stream, and my buddy called me up. Hey, did you know there was no sound on that? No. Why did you bother me while I was in it? So, I mean, but that's just, so we just re-recorded another thing and put it out there, and it takes time, but it I don't know that I could stop it at this point. There's too much stuff involved, but and of course, like I said, on my last show, it's kind of therapeutic for me to just sit here and talk, and somebody may or may not be listening on the other end, but it still gets those thoughts out of my head and into the universe. And I hope that if something happens, and God forbid it doesn't, my boys will always can turn on YouTube and hear my voice.
Yeah, you got a little time capsule, for lack of better words. Yeah,
and same thing. Like if I was going to stop, if somebody came to me and was like, I just can't, I don't podcast anymore. I mean, I would do the same thing. I would back them up. What can we do to fix this? I mean, like I'm a big proprietor of if we can work together on something to help you out, to help me out. If we got together and worked together, I think that we could do amazing things together. And I mean, this podcast is a good representation of that, because I had a good idea, I reached out to you, and here we are.
Yeah, and I'll say you and Mike have gotten me into that comfortability of being live on the internet. The Rambling Star Wars Fan, it's a recorded thing. Yeah. I'm not comfortable enough just sitting at a microphone and a camera by myself talking into the void, at least with this kind of an event. I know there's a guaranteed response outside of technical difficulties. I ask a question, you're going to respond. You ask a question, I'm going to respond. I just don't know for the solo show, for the Rambling Star Wars Fan, how that would fly. And it's interesting, because I've put that on my list of one thing that I'm going to attempt this year. I'm going to later in the year put out my first live show of the Rambling Star Wars Fan, just to see how it goes, because I know how much energy I put into the recorded ones. I wonder what it would be like if I were to just do it live without a net.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the hard part for me is when I record something, it takes a lot longer for me to finish it and put it out. That's why I kind of switched to live. Because realistically, I will sit there and nitpick stuff, and this doesn't sound right, and I don't like that I said here, and I don't like that I couldn't find my word or something like that. But realistically, like I had one of the guys at work that does listen to my show, and he's like, "What did you do different?" And I'm like, on one of my early shows, and he's like, I don't know. I'm like, why? And he's like, because it didn't sound like you. It sounded like someone else. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. And it was just that realization that, you know, people that I talk to on a regular basis didn't realize that it was me talking on the show after I did all the editing and spent all the time trying to make it better. I kind of lost some of me in that. So I hope you luck on your live episode. That's for sure.
Well, we'll see. I mean, one of the challenges, like I envision the rambling Star Wars fan almost as one, thank you letters to all of the makers, and two, like these mini documentaries or something like that, where I talk about a topic or a character, or in some cases, you know, an item, whether it's a book or something in a scene somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me, challenging for me to just do it live because I take a lot of notes and I do a lot, as goofy as this sounds, on this make believe this make believe stuff that I can do quote unquote research on it. But I do, like, I find out what day this thing was made, and I find out who painted it, and I find out, you know, who this thing was based on. You know, this scene was based on Ben-Hur, or this scene was based on, you know, this other movie, or whatever. That's part of the, for me, part of the joy of putting it together is that digging for the information that I can then share that you may not have known before.
Right.
So to be able to do that live may be a bit of a challenge, and I'm gonna put that on my list of things to do in 2026.
I mean, not to draw the curtain away, but when we do some of our lore videos between the two of us, we have a whole section of a whole spreadsheet of all the things we're going to talk about. Sometimes it's very specific, sometimes it's ideas, but to me, it's not much different because I will have a piece of paper with notes on it for everything that I do, every episode that I do, and some of them are 4 or 5 pages long, just so that I can go all the information out. I mean, this is an old one. This is when we did the Inflatable Falcon one, and some of the ideas that we were putting out there. But specifically, we really, like, I always write notes ahead of time. So like if I need dates or times when this happened, or if I needed a scene or something like that. And I'm starting to incorporate more stuff into the live show so that I can be able to put clips in, just like the intro. Now that I know that I can use that intro clip to create that break on even on a live show. And this is, again, just new research on my part. So I can include that clip into the show. And now I can do that. I can do other things. And of course, you know, learning that how to share the screen properly so it's not showing all your emails or whatever when you bring it up. That was a lesson as well. But you know, a lot of this software and stuff like that and familiarity with it is key to doing more. And I've really been trying to play with some of the stuff. So, I mean, I know you're still looking for a specific software to do live things, but whatever you land on, just dive into it and see what you can do with it.
It's a good point.
It's taken me 2 years to play with all the stuff that I have.
Yeah, from the sounds of it too, I think based on what you're saying, it's more important just to pick one and go with it instead of hemming and hawing and trying to find the best one. Pick one, and what's really funny now that I'm talking out loud. It's funny for me because normally that's how I live my life. Make a choice, whatever decision you make a decision, and then if you need to make another decision, you'll make another decision, but don't get frozen by not deciding. So pick something. And I think I need to take that same approach to my living as I do to my podcasting, I guess.
And I'm going to tell you, truth be told, I'm an overthinker. So for me to say that, that comes with the experience of playing around with the software and stuff like that, and learning to, and if you're, for anybody that's listening that is considering getting into podcasting, first off, I'm going to give you advice: just do it. Don't waste time playing around with it. Like Ken just said, pick a software, run with it, and figure it out. Because in most cases, if you buy a streaming software or use it or get a free version of a streaming software that you're comfortable with, you can stream on almost any platform almost immediately. You don't need so many followers, you don't need so many screen time, you don't need to, it's kind of like a cheat code to get past all that if you want to do live stuff. If you want to do recorded episodes, just put it out there, get it done, and post it. Don't over edit it, don't overdo it, because the more stuff that you can get out there, the better off you'll be. And this comes from experience, because I am an overthinker. I spent way too much time trying to figure out what software I wanted to use and what worked and what didn't work, and how to tweak this software to do exactly what I wanted to do, where I probably just could have bought something, picked it up, started running with it, and let it go at its default settings.
So if you had a magic wand and could pick two things that you would want to do as part of this show, what would they be?
Two things. Well, I would like to, I mean, I could give the obvious answer where I'd like to be at least Star Wars famous as you can expect to be in this oversaturated market, if you will. But to be honest with you, looking at, like, I'll get into that later. But what I would like to do is maybe be a forerunner in the system that we're working on, the market that we're working in. If we could get more people to follow us, more people to subscribe, more people to say, I didn't see your episode this month, when's it coming out? That's probably the top thing that I would want to do. And of course, the possibility is out there. I don't really need a magic wand. We need time and devotion and discipline. And I think we could get there, because we're in a fairly reasonable niche. The other thing, I don't know that I'd have a second. I mean, like that's kind of where I want to be. Like, I'm not looking to make like $1 million or have 1 million subscribers, but I would like to have more people listen to us.
Okay.
That would be the one thing that, if I could get it out there. Okay, I'll give you a second one. I want the team of people to help us out so that we don't have to do all the back end work all the time.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And that one would probably take more of the magic wand than the first one.
Yeah, probably.
The first one is something that sounds like it's definitely within our ability and control.
I think it takes a magic card.
Yeah, something, that's for sure. For me, so the first one that you mentioned is similar to one that I would put on my list too. I mean, I think we're pretty cool. I think we have fun talking about this stuff, and I think that folks out there could have fun listening to us talk about this stuff. And to your point of having more listeners, it's more people to add to the conversation. The Inflatable Falcon has gotten to the place now where every Wednesday we have 3 or 4 people. And I'm not saying we need 300 people, because then folks feel like they get lost in the sauce. But to have, a regular band of banterers, a regular band of people that just get together and chat about this stuff, whether it's we're talking about a ship or we're talking about a character.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say that I would like us to figure out a way of doing is just getting more guests. And I adore you. I think you're a fantastic partner in all of this. Way more qualified and organized than I am, and I admire you for that. And it would be fun, and it wouldn't have to be every episode, but maybe 3 episodes a year where we're talking to an author, we're talking to an actress, we're talking to uh, a creator, a maker, one of the either the legacy people, whether they made a toy. Like, let's get Jim Swearingen on the call and have him talk to us about that rocket firing Boba Fett toy from the 70s, or
Right.
let's get someone from Hasbro Pulse to talk about why these Black Series figures have so many little accessories.
Right.
That's what I think would be cool, just to have more of that kind of participation in our show. And I say that for the rambling Star Wars fan as well. I would love to have, whether it's another podcaster. I'd like to do more, and maybe that's something we can do. Maybe we do more episodes with podcasters.
Yeah.
Here we are on Star Wars Podcast Day, and there's roughly 60 plus podcast episodes or podcast shows that over the course of this week are going to be releasing episodes to celebrate the anniversary of Jedi Talk. So maybe what we could do is every third show, we reach out to one of them and say, hey, I know you were part of Star Wars Podcast Day. Do you want to come on our show? You talk about Star Wars. We talk about Star Wars. Let's get together and talk about Star Wars.
I think that's a great idea. And you were breaking up a little bit there. So just to kind of bring that back around, just in case it didn't come over onto YouTube, the idea is to get other guests to come over and YouTubers and stuff and come over and have more guests. And I agree, Ken. I have a hell of a time talking with you about Star Wars. Probably more than I ever expected to be honest. But yeah, it would be really nice, and to get some other podcasters on here, and maybe just get, like you said, maybe some of the makers and some of the stuff like that, but even to get other people that will sit in front of a microphone and chat about Star Wars. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we're in a place now where folks, they talk to their families by Zoom, or they participate in a staff meeting once a month remotely. This is the exact same thing. You know, so it doesn't have to be we have to go to a studio and you get mic'd up or whatever. People can record from their iPad in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So heck, nowadays with the phones that we have, you could just set your phone, against a peanut butter jar, and
oh, absolutely,
have it facing you, and we're in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something we can do. Maybe I'll start working on that, put it out on the social medias. And if you're a podcaster listening to this and you want to come on our show, or vice versa, I mean, we can come on your show too, and we could talk Star Wars and have a really good time about it.
Have a podcast throwdown.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we could even do that.
Well, yeah,
we'll take our Star Wars lore against your Star Wars lore any day.
Yeah, let's do it. Instead of Fight Club, it's Debate Club.
Right.
Tell me why Jango Fett was the best choice to create an entire clone army.
Yeah, exactly. So, no,
it's been a hell of a Star Wars podcast day, Todd. I really appreciate you working with me to get this out there to the world.
Yeah, no problem, and I appreciate you being on here as well. And like I said, like I think this is such a great thing for us to do, and anybody that's out there that is listening, either today or any of the episodes that are coming out for Star Wars Podcast Day from the 60 plus
60 plus
podcasters that are out there, please go check out the Facebook page, whatever. I challenge you to listen to one person that you've never listened to before, and because you never know, they might just be the kind of Star Wars people that you want to talk to or you want to listen to.
And I'll take that challenge one step further. If you're going to listen to our show, just add the like, add the subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It makes us feel better.
Every single person that's out there that watches, even if you click on the video by accident, press the like button.
Press the like button.
It costs you nothing. Trust me, the algorithm will take us away soon enough if you don't really want to watch us.
Yeah, we'll go back to cat videos and cooking shows.
That's right. and farming videos or whatever. Unboxing. Right. So, all right. So, other than being here, Ken, where can they find you?
So most Wednesday nights, I'm the co-pilot on the Ramblings. Oh, no. I'm the co-pilot on the Inflatable Falcon. So Mike Hinton is the pilot. I'm the co-pilot. So I'm sometimes every Wednesday night with him. Every so often, I get to sit around the Dejeric table with the guys from Bounty Hunting. I'm getting all my shows mixed up. Bantha Milk podcast with Robert, David, and Tom. They're on the Bantha Milk podcast, and we sit around the Dejeric table. When I'm by myself talking to a microphone, that's the Rambling Star Wars Fan. And I will have an episode of that out later today. It won't be a live show like this. It'll be a recorded show. And just as a preview, it's going to be about the lessons I've learned since starting a Star Wars podcast to be released on Star Wars Podcast Day. And tell us about those two other shows that you host.
So, as I said earlier, I am on Lake Clan Legends, and we play Dungeons and Dragons and a couple other games on there, and that's live Sunday afternoons. It's hard to get teenagers to be prompt, so it's sometimes Sunday afternoon. And then every Thursday, you can find me at Table Ready Painting on YouTube. We do a podcast episode every other week, and we do a paint night or game night or something the off week. So, and the only Thursdays that we really miss is Thanksgiving and Christmas last year. So, and New Year's, Christmas and New Year's. Yeah. So even with all the stuff that happened last year, we were live at least a little bit.
That's so cool.
So as for Star Wars Podcast Day 2026, that's about it for us.
Let's hit that magic outro.
All right.
Todd and Ken, the legends rise through hyperspace with burning skies. Bounty hunting, stars align. Across the galaxy, it's time to shine.
That's so cool. Oh, I love it.
Todd and Ken, the legends rise through hyperspace with burning skies. Bounty hunting, stars align. Across the galaxy, it's time to shine.